our very first video show. I am Nikita Faustin, the host of Pivotal Moment. At this pivotal moment in our country, I thought it was so important that we talk to voices who are really in front of what is happening now and those who are trying to make a change. And today, I'm so glad that I have 19-year-old Zachary Huff of Chicago. He is the founder of the Stamped Out movement. It is a movement that brings honor to those who we have lost to police brutality. Zach started the movement so that other people could get involved, and more importantly, so that everyone could vote. So, thank you for joining us, Zach. Tell us a little bit about the Stamped Out movement and how it started.
The Stamped Out movement is a movement that I started that I would hope to get to inspire people to go out and vote and make sure um, that their feelings are heard throughout the world and that they're able to express themselves correctly. It started off just seeing how many people have been murdered due to how America has basically failed us as a whole, and there's plenty of people that that I've seen throughout my 19 years, and it's really sad. So I wanted to do something about it.
I congratulate and commend you, Zach, for doing something and for inspiring others to do the same. And I know that there are 15 names. One is too many, and 15 is beyond tragic. Can you read or share with us the names that are part of the Stamped Out movement?
hmm George Floyd, Sandra Bland, Tatiana Jefferson, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Elijah McClain, uh, Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, George Floyd, Oscar Grant, Kendra James, Jordan Carter, Antoine Rose, and Elijah Almin, Michael Brown, and Khalif Browder.
As you're reading those names, Zach, it really kind of tears you apart because they're not just names, they are brothers and sisters and moms and cousins and aunts. They're gone way too soon. And you're wearing part of the art that you created, which is, and you showed me before the show how you sketch out the actual image of the person and then you lay the color on it. Can you describe to us what we see on the stamp and the shirt that you're wearing?
Mhm. Yeah. So it's a picture of Elijah McClain in a stamp, and the the way I wanted to go about it was with a lot of symbolism and layers. First, we have a postmark right here that says the date that he was killed, and it says the date and USA and where he was. And then you have his name, you have the United States here, and then you have 0 cents, which means that, of course, he wasn't worth 0 cents to us, but he was worth zero to the people that murdered him tragically. And yeah, and I chose to make it them stamps just to immortalize them, just like we show honor and immortalize presidents, musicians, and icons. Like these people are murder victims, and but they're icons. They're important. They're going to change the world eventually.
Not only are they going to change the world, they are changing the world as we speak, as are you. And I really respect the bravery and courage and the creativity that you're using. I know we talked about how you've always been an artist, you've always created, and you've really been behind social justice issues, even at 19 for the last few years, is what your art has been focused on. Tell me about this is a really broad question, but you're very focused. So we talked about systemic racism and police brutality. What is the solution or solutions that we need to do or people need to do?
I believe that in terms of teenagers and young adults, we're really tech savvy. It's important that we go on social media. It's important that we share information and educate each other. And in terms of the police and in terms of people in power, it's their jobs to make sure that they're also educating themselves. They're teaching their fellow coworkers. They're teaching the people that they mentor. They're teaching the people that they're in charge of to do better, to learn about how people that just aren't them work and how they're able to
Mm.
work with them correctly.
Is
For example, Elijah McClain, he was an introvert, and I feel like that was one of the biggest reasons why he was murdered. And I feel like if we actually took the time to actually study these things and make sure that we're more understanding that this probably wouldn't happen, we'd be a lot more sympathetic towards him.
That's so insightful, Zach, because just because someone is different doesn't mean that they're wrong, right?
Correct.
It takes so much compassion, empathy, understanding to see people who don't look like you and still understand that they are still like you in terms of wanting to live, right?
Mm,
So,
correct.
one of the things that really struck me about your story was about the stamp itself, but about the connection to voting. I saw the Breonna Taylor poster, and beneath her picture, it said, "Vote because she can't." So tell us about why this election, Zach, is so critical, is so pivotal, and so important to what we are going to do in this country and beyond this year and beyond.
Mm. Well, this year I think is super important because I feel like a new generation is coming. This is the first year that I was ever able to vote for a president. And I think that's really important that my generation gets to share their opinions and share their voice. And we're a lot different than the other generations that came before us simply because we have social media, which has connected us from the entire world. And I think that's really important that everyone gets their voice heard. Um, we've seen a lot of violence. We've seen a lot of mistakes that the United States has made, and it's important that we're able to get these things to change. And voting is the biggest step towards that.
And what do you think? There's so many issues at stake right now, Zach. Is there an issue in this election that you really hope will change as a result of who's elected? Is there something personally that has impacted you about what's happened that hopefully will change as a result of the election?
Yeah, I don't believe that the president's gonna magically fix every problem that we have, but I think that their voices are what's really inspires change. I know that um, that powerful speeches, of course, is one of the biggest things that really fuel people. A big, huge change that I really want is for our tax dollars to go into low income neighborhoods, that the black dollar is circulating, that our roads are fixed, that our schools are fixed, that in Chicago, especially, a lot of schools have been shut down, and we need more schools. We need more equipped teachers that are able to work with different types of people from different backgrounds. Because a lot of times, a lot of people that commit crimes just really want to be heard, um, and are also a victim to their circumstances. So I think that's a huge change that the president needs to spark.
I love what you're saying because it's talking about the human side of politics, which
Mhm.
sometimes you don't get that, and it's a tragedy because we want to be humanized so that we can have the things that we need to survive, to live, to thrive. I love the movement that you are bringing to us. Tell me, in a perfect world, what would you hope this accomplishes?
Um, my movement,
Yes.
I would hope that it would accomplish everyone that can to vote, that it would inspire people to see these people that are victims and think to themselves, just like I thought, which sparked me to make this was, how can we get this to stop?
Mm.
How can we make change? And I think, like I said before, voting is the first step to doing that. But in order to vote for the right people, we have to research who those people are. And I think art is one thing that first catches the eye. And I think art is what inspires people to get up and make changes.
And I think also, Zach, that it transcends race, gender, ethnicity, background. It's very unifying, and it can be, and it causes people to look at things that they may not see the same. They can rally around this piece of art, and this the way that you express yourself is a work of art. So, what has been the
Right.
response that you've gotten, Zach, from the community, from your friends, family?
Mhm. Well, my friends and family in the community so far is they've really supported me. Um, they've really thought that the work that I'm doing is powerful, and it's really inspired me and fueled me to keep going because there's been days where I might have doubted decisions or I've thought that I didn't like things, but then I hear it from other people and that really helps me, just like I want to help people with my art. So it's really helpful.
I think that it's wonderful to have a positive, uplifting story from Chicago. We're so often defined by violence and what's not right and the things that are wrong, but you're such a strong and powerful force. Do you think that, or let me ask you this, because you've been expressing yourself through art for the last 3 or 4 years around social justice. Was there something a few years ago that made you focus on social justice and how to address those areas of inequity?
Well, I feel like I really in school I've really liked social studies, and one of the biggest events that's happened in American history, I believe, was the murder of Emmett Till, and how his mother chose, which is also from Chicago, by the way, but
Hmm.
his mother chose to have an open casket funeral. And I feel like same with now, even though we have social media, there's still people that are kind of blind due to, I would say, white privilege that see these things all the time, but still don't really acknowledge it. So back to Emmett Till, of course, his picture of the open casket was in the newspaper, and that really sparked a lot of America to say, "Oh wow, what's happening to Black people is really wrong."
Right.
And I think the same thing with artwork, with the artwork that I'm doing, especially, it's going to spark that same type of reaction, I think.
I think it already is. So many people are talking about what you're doing and what you're trying to do, and a lot of the things, as we've talked about, Zach, have been happening, but now that there's so much more emphasis on it internationally. You have protests all over the world that have happened since George Floyd was murdered. Why do you think things are different now? Because you see all different colors rallying behind what has to change. What's the difference?
Um, I believe that social media and technology is the difference. We have Instagram Live, we have video apps, we have we have Twitter, which is important because before we had to rely on newspapers or just media outlets, which is great, but it created a middleman. So now that we have videos, we have people that can tweet things, we have people that can record things, and we see it straight from the source. And not only do we see it straight from the source, but it's on the World Wide Web, which means that everyone can see it, and everyone's starting to get tired of it. So
It's um it's something that you have to see, and I think maybe even seeing the George Floyd video really opened up what people knew was there, but were forced to acknowledge. And then
right.
respond, because when you see it, you have to be accountable. And accountability means change. And that's what you're bringing to us. And so I think that that is so important. What can people do? And not everyone is an artist, but people want to get involved. How can they do that? What can they do to be a part of what you're doing?
They get involved by researching how can they become an anti-racist, which means basically not just not being racist towards people, but also pushing the agenda that racism is wrong and educating themselves and their friends and sharing that information via social media, via word of mouth, and like I said before, just voting and making sure you know who you're voting for and what they want and what you want for your neighborhoods and your communities.
Silence is not an option. Thank you so much. And where can people, what's your website? What's your Instagram so that people can follow you, know what city you're going to be in next, know where they can hear you speak so that they can be involved not only prior to this election, but after, because we're still going to need those voices of change, which is what you are.
Mhm. My website is zacharyhuff.com, ZACHARYHUFF.com. My Facebook is Zachary Huff. My Instagram is z.acharYh on Instagram. And yeah, those are my main socials. I have a lot of artwork that isn't just about violence or tragedy, but also showcases how African American people can be shown in a different light, no matter if they're being silly, if whatever, we're different. We're all different. So that's why I want to showcase.
I agree. We are not monolithic by far. There are many shades, many hues, and many talents. And I'm so glad that you are sharing yours and you've chosen to come on and share it with us. Is there anything else, Zach, that you think would be really important for our viewers to know about you or about the Stamped Out movement?
Um, we're going to be putting a lot of posters around the city of Chicago, especially in the South Side, because a lot of people in the South Side last election were not voting because I believe people were brainwashed to think that their voices didn't matter. So that's where we're putting our posters, and we want people to get out and vote. We want people to know that their voice matters, and yeah, I think that's the most important thing.
It does matter. Thank you so much for being such a great example, Zach, of art in action and of making a change through the things that are already in you. So thank you so much for coming on to Pivotal Moment. And we will be
Thank you very
following
much.
you and follow. No, thank you. We'll be following your movement. Have a wonderful one.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much to Zachary Huff. We wish him and the Stamped Out movement the very best as they continue to make an impact in the world around us, beginning in Chicago with our communities. And at the ballot box is where you can also make your voice heard. We encourage you to vote early, and make sure that you are a part of the change. In addition, please continue to subscribe to Pivotal Moment. As I shared at the top of the show, we are now adding video. As a result of your support, we are expanding. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please continue to share and promote the news that you can use as we continue to move forward. I am your host, Nikita Faustin. We will talk with you next time.